Hey everyone, Matt, ESC United, your favorite Eurovision channel, and welcome to Mattitude, the Eurovision ESC United live stream where we discuss all the news that are happening. But today we have a more special episode, and it is basically the first show of the 2021 season that is coming to a close. Albania Festivali. I almost said to Cansao, but that's Portugal. Festivali e Kenges. That is the one that we are going to talk about. And I'm not doing this alone. I'm here with my buddy Roy. How you doing?
Yes, I'm doing great. I enjoyed the show tonight. I hope everybody did, and it ended out of nowhere.
It did, right? Because initially it was scheduled to run until like midnight Central European time, and then they're just like, all right, it's over. And I was like, holy camole, I'm not ready. So I tried to jump on as quickly as humanly possible, and we're here to discuss the show. There is, a lot of probably happy faces, maybe a lot of sad faces. We had a lot of good voices. We had a lot of interesting staging, and we had a lot of interval acts. And we want to talk it through one by one. But first of all, as the overall feel, we're going to go for that first. Of course, answer your questions at ESC United in the chat is what you need to use for me to see it, so we can answer it. Um, let's go for this. It's been an emotional roller coaster. Roy, what was your overall impression of today's show without the results and that taken into consideration? Just the whole show in a
I think it
nutshell.
was quite cool. It's probably also got to do with us wanting another Eurovision related show, and it really starting to dawn on you that we are in the 2021 season now, and Albania is always such a lovely way to kick it off. It's kind of classy in a way, and it is such a different thing to what I'm used to in the Netherlands and in I think a lot of people in Europe are used to, and therefore I always love Albania. And I also thought this show was really well structured. They had the songs in the correct positions, and it had a nice flow throughout the show. Maybe the interval acts were a bit long and unnecessary. Like we could have maybe done with all of them in the end or something, or just a bit in the middle or something like that. But it was a bit weird in that regard. But for the rest, I really enjoyed this edition again.
Yeah. And this is how we start at ESC United talking about the show. It's the interval acts. Because I mean, kind of the interval acts were like, I didn't tweet much throughout the show. I was fairly busy, but the things that stood out to me is like, it is such a weird concept to me to have interval acts as the song are still performing the entries. And you're like, that's usually like for after the show. And it's very confusing for like probably people who don't follow the show, like watch for the first time, like, wait, is this an entry or is it not? I'm not quite sure what I'm supposed to make out of this. So that really threw me off. And I think it was hilarious that they had this band that just like, okay, so we're in Albania. We're from Australia, but we got stuck during COVID. So the organizers were like,
Yes.
join us. Right? Is it just me that caught on to that?
No, it was so funny. I was like, this is the most random thing that could have ever appeared on the Festivali Kunges stage. Like, out of nowhere, just a band that has nothing to do with Albania, just them stuck there. And they're like, you tripped onto our stage? Well, perform something then, I guess. Yeah, it was funny.
It is hilarious, and that's why we love Albania because it's always like they always throw you for a loop. Like what just happened? You never know. Every year the rules are different, the results are being presented differently, and it's
Yeah.
just really really odd. This time around, they went back to this whole we're only going to announce the top three. At least for now. I don't think they're going to announce the rest. So we'll go through this show a little bit more. Any specific comments about the hosting on your end, or was it just more like just there for you?
I think the hosting was fine. I think last year the like lady made it a her show. Like it was all about. I don't remember her name on top of my head. And now the hosts were fine. They were doing their job perfectly as they should, and they weren't necessarily outstanding, I would say, but they did the job, and that's great.
Yes, that is how I feel. I didn't. The difference between the two of us is you watched the last two nights' performances,
Yeah,
because they had like the. Then I did not. I was too busy, but I
don't
committed
blame you.
myself to watch this one. I know that we had 26 songs in the running. I think eight of them were eliminated up front. Is that correct?
Well, one of them was struck by
Oh,
COVID, and
yes.
she was forced to like withdraw. And so there were 25 competing, and 7 got eliminated from the semifinals to the
That's
final.
correct. That's what it was, yes. And before we even go into tonight's result, for you, Roy, it was interesting because what happened to your favorite?
Then don't go
Pre-show.
there. My favorite was 2. I was in love with that song, and Albania decided no, no, you're not having your favorite in the final. And
Fatos Shabani was your favorite with
yeah,
T.
Fatos Shabani with 2, and
The T.
yeah, it was just the lovely guy was just performing his song on the stage, very acoustic, very lovely, very atmospheric, and it just made me feel like I was in a different world and I was floating in the sky. And it's just unfortunate that it didn't go through, but I mean, that's what you get to expect from national final season by now. It's just your favorites not doing as you want them to do, I guess.
That's what's good, and that is a good transition into tonight's results because we didn't get an exact breakdown of the results. We got the 18 songs performed. We had interesting interval acts, and then fairly quickly the actual results. Actually, before I jump into that, Roy, what was different about this year's Festivali Kenges as far as the setup is concerned?
I mean, it was outside for one. Like, we have something in the world currently that's like called a pandemic or something. Not sure if you heard about it, but
No, what's happening?
I don't know. There's like a bit of the flu somewhere, and yeah, they decided to hold it outside to like reduce the risk of infections and whatnot. So it was the first time ever, and the show. This is the 59th edition. If people don't realize, it's the first time ever they hold it outside, and that's definitely something that they had to take into account.
Yeah, and it's not like they live where I do in Southern California, where it's usually warm around the year. It's pretty
Yeah.
darn cold in Albania in December, so you could see just their breath there. So that's why they were all a little dressed a little warmer than usual for the most part. Some of them were not. I'm sure they have some heaters, but it just was a very interesting experience, and you just deal with the circumstances. And I think considering the circumstances, they did a pretty good job with the flow. Again, keep in mind, we're talking Albania. Albania does things a little differently. It feels to a lot of us, especially in the western part of the world, almost retro, outdated, this approach.
Mm.
But that's just them, and we cannot judge a country culture to do it the way we like it because that's not their culture. It's just that
Yeah.
simple. So, and therefore, let's just go for the results first, and then we talk about some of the. So, before, there were a few favorites that have been put out there to win. One of them was Enes Nizir with Pendese was a favorite one. Era Rusi, Siari Im. Those were probably
Yeah.
the 2 fan favorites, as well as potentially Mirud with
Hmm.
Nëse, vdes. If I said
Yeah.
that right. Those are the 3 favorites, like within the Eurovision community, and that
Yeah. I
is the
think
big
I think that
asterisk.
was
And you said what's
also.
different in Albania, right?
I saw something going about that there were like some polls here and there, and that the favorite very much in Albania was the one that actually ended up winning. And there were also some hints here and there on their Instagram page that the winner that eventually won was a highly favored, I would say. And I mean, it won in the end, so it was true. But in the Euro bubble, you know, we really live in our own little bubble, and we like to pick our favorites that we would love to see at Eurovision. And for them, I guess it's a festival, and they just want the most prestigious winner. And it's maybe a bit of conflict in what they want or what they look for, but also I don't know. It's yeah, I don't really know where to
Yeah,
go with that, but
you
yeah.
nailed it. So, and before it is true that Festivale i Kenges has been around since the 60s, decades before they even thought about joining Eurovision. So this is
Yeah.
kind of a standalone festival. Think of it like Sanremo in some ways. It's not designed necessarily to pick the winner, even though it is that it's going to Eurovision. The festival is its own standalone event, and it
Hmm.
is catered to the Albanian market. And there is a case we made saying, well, there is a conflict between what's good for the Albanian market and what's successful at Eurovision. So you have to come to terms with, is a good result at Eurovision a priority, or is it most important to send a song that Albanians are proud of, and they feel it's authentic. And that is where the situation is. And as you said, Eurovision fans, the bubble, had different favorites than apparently what we've heard in Albania. And the winner picked by the juries
Yeah.
is Anxhela Peristeri with the song Karma.
Yep.
It's a very interesting thing. I'm going to go first on this one. I will say, those who've watched my personal ranking video that I put up a few weeks ago, I put that song in probably 5th place for me overall, based on my first impression. Then after tonight, there's no one who's sang like her. Like, you remember that big first note? She's like, "Bruh," I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
And she never ever lost me at that moment. So I think it did climb to my personal number 2 of the night, only because of that major impact that song had. I think this has a whole lot more of an impact live to me. So I was mightily impressed by it live. The question is, we can go back and forth about, is it right for Eurovision? But again, this may be a very different story, because this may not be the sole intent of the contest. What are your thoughts about the winner?
I honestly don't mind it either. I think it definitely grew on me, and ever since it won, it's already kind of stuck in my mind, and that is always a good thing. And whatever they would have chosen, Albania would have given us a different flavor into the competition, no matter what. And this is also that ethnic vibe, and they can really do a lot of things with this visually as well. And I'm not a hater of it, to be honest. I'm not opposed to this winning. I think it could be done well, and it could have a lot of potential. They need to revamp it. I don't think it is gonna do super well as is. Like, they need to improve the song a bit, but they usually do that anyway. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not opposed to it, to be honest.
Yeah, the thing is, and you're right, almost always Albania receives a revamp, and this year will be no exception. I know Eugen Bush Pepper song had just a very minimalistic revamp, because this was almost complete already when it
Yeah.
was put forward, but most other songs always receive a revamp, sometimes for the better, sometimes for the opposite. So we have to wait and see what's going to happen here. But the track was fairly like just guitar, electric guitar sound, all that stuff. So there needs to be a little bit more for orchestral arrangement done. I completely agree with you on that. And it's very interesting to me, this whole situation. I know a lot of people in the chat and not just on social media are very unhappy with the results, because again, the favorites were, as I pointed out, in the Eurovision bubble. Let's put Albania aside, what Albania like. Let's talk about what we Eurovision superiors want. I'm being sarcastic here. It's Enes Niziri, as pointed out, Evi Reçi, and Mirud were like 3 big favorites.
Yeah.
Are you surprised? Because we only found out who the top 3 were. Were you surprised that none of them even made it anywhere near the win?
I was, to be honest. I didn't think Mirud would do as well as people had hoped, because I think the impact wasn't fully there, and it's not something that Albania would go for usually anyway. But I would definitely expect it needs to at least be top 3 somewhere. It's like this young girl singing a power ballad, and that's usually what they like, and her vocals were quite good as well. And it's honestly surprising that she didn't even get to 3rd place. And yeah, I don't know, for Xherahu, I can definitely see why they would think it is a bit too much out there, too Frankenstein-y, too much happening at the same time. And like, I can get why that wouldn't go for top 3, but yeah, I'm kind of surprised that Enos didn't get in those like top 3 places, really.
Yeah, I am. I wasn't. I mean, I was a little bit surprised about the winner, not like shocked. It wasn't like a jaw-dropping moment. It was
Yeah.
more of a, oh, okay, I could see that happening.
Hmm.
I was more surprised about the full top 3 and how it panned out. Before we go talk about the top 3, we talked about Anxhela already. A little bit, we're going to talk more about it. Let's talk about it in detail. So Mirud, you pointed out, probably wasn't going to win, and I think he would have had a really good shot if it was a televote. But
Yeah,
knowing the juries, I knew, like, yeah, this will not have a shot.
exactly.
As far as the performance is concerned, I like what the Matador kind of, just a very tight version of Matador looking outfit. I thought it was a really daring choice, and I love that he kind of pushes the limits there a little bit. And I'm sure for some of the traditional Albanian viewers, it may be a little like, what is that? But I appreciate that it went out a little bit out of the comfort zone. I will say he should not be dancing. The camera work was bad. First of all, he felt very uncomfortable. The dancing, the
Yeah.
choreography was not good. They should have hired someone who knows a little bit more about choreography to make sure that the main focal point, which is Mirud, does not look like out of place. And he felt awkward. And what really bothered me was this whole. We see when he gives away his microphone to the dancer. I'm like, this is what camera work does. You're not supposed to see all of that because it's very
Yeah.
weird. Because like, oh, now it's about something to happen. Why is he giving it away? So I think it didn't come together. I think that was my biggest issue with it. I still think that this song with the proper revamp could have actually be a really, really good song. It
Hmm.
just felt a little flat in my view tonight.
Yeah, it lacked some energy, definitely. And I think staging wise as well, with the dancing, it lacked some energy. I would have more preferred him to maybe be a bit more static or just fade it out and have the dancers go a bit wilder to the beat, maybe. And something like that. And also the camera shots were off, but he already kind of commented on that, that he wasn't very happy with that either. And yeah, it just didn't fully click, but I really hope to see him back because I definitely do think that he can come up with something creative that could go to Eurovision one day. And maybe there will be a televote one year. We never know how they'll vote in Albania. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that is true. I agree with that, what you said. And so it's sad, but hopefully he'll come back because I think he brings a different approach to the contest, which I very
Mhm.
much like and embrace. And I'm glad he was in the running, even though it wasn't enough for this time around.
Yeah.
Another one of the favorites, if not the favorite, in the fan polls with in the Eurovision bubble, and I am in the bubble, and it was also my favorite. Ines Pendese. I don't know what to say. I thought like I think you made the point earlier, Roy. It's like it had everything that screamed like a jury favorite Ed in Albania. It has the traditional. It has like a ballady soundbite performed by a young female singer. Oh, and it's just screamed like, okay, this could do really well in festival. And then it just didn't. I thought she looked
Yeah.
fantastic. She
Hmm.
sounded amazing, and I was like, okay. I mean, from a Eurovision perspective, I think this would be a really good choice.
Yeah.
The juries just didn't get it. I don't know. One person can have so much impact because it's a small jury, and I think it's like 5 or 6 people, and one
Yeah.
person downgrading a song could be really, really hurtful. It kind of happened last year.
Yeah, definitely.
But I thought it was a really good performance. I think this would have done really well at Eurovision, and Ines is just a superb performer, and I'm sad. I feel as this would have been a great choice, but again, I'm not in Albania. I don't represent the Albanian taste, and that's always something we need to take into consideration. What are you thinking about the Ines performance?
I think if you were to, it takes all the Eurovision boxes, I think, as well, because I think this song would have benefited the most from the translation to English as well. Like, I nearly feel as if this song was meant to be sung in English. And I know that it's like a very sensitive topic to talk about in Eurofans and when it comes to Albania. But
Oh, I know. Oh, yeah. Entering dangerous territory here, Roy.
yeah, but Pendes always sounded like it had English in mind or something. And yeah, it was really weird that it didn't do better. But like, she's 19, so she has such a long career ahead of her. So there will be more opportunities for her, and maybe she'll come up with an even better song that will wow us even more. Because while it was a great song, I still could see her doing even better and having us wow even more. And I don't know, there may be more left in the tank, and I guess that's what we're gonna find out now. And I'm not too unexcited about that. Maybe I guess I don't know.
Yeah.
Unless they're super upset about the result, then
That's how it goes. Now, David made a interesting. I didn't even notice that. What do you think about Enos not being on stage when the results were announced? Did you notice that she wasn't there?
oh no, I didn't see that at all.
I didn't see
Maybe
that either. I don't know if there were circumstances that we not aware of. Maybe she didn't feel well or whatever happened, or I don't know. But
that's
we don't know
interesting.
anything. Yeah, I will have. I'm sure we get more information should
Hmm.
there any kind of controversial context come to light. But I don't. I didn't know. I absolutely didn't know that she wasn't there. So she was another favorite in that. I think stings a lot for a lot of fans because, we want to listen to that song over and over again at Eurovision, see it improve throughout the revamp process, and see the amazing staging that Albania will come up with. That's not going to happen with that song, but that doesn't mean the song that was chosen won't leave an impact, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. The other one that was very popular, probably a close second to Ines, was Evi Reçi and Zjarri Im. And what are your thoughts on this one, Roy?
I mean, it won our overall reviews at East United as the final score. I mean, I think, the lowest score of them all on it. It felt a bit trying too much to be edgy, like trying too much to appeal to multiple crowds and trying to be liked too much, maybe. And I don't know, it's just something wasn't fully there for me. There's like this little Eurobeat in between that just sounded like kind of a bridge, but also kind of as a chorus, and it just didn't fully click. But like visually, it was amazing, and a lot of elements that were there were really good as well. And I can definitely see why it was a fan favorite. It wasn't my personal fan favorite, but I mean, that is what it is. I didn't give it like a bad grade, but like I was one of the lower ones. I remember that. Yeah, I get why people love this so much, because people really like to go for the wow factor, I guess. Not so much for me, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, Erosi is the kind of song that either has, it's like a love or hate kind of song because it's well, you said it ticks us a lot of checks a lot of boxes for Eurovision taste. It has the
Yeah.
Slana wild dances feel to it, and
Mhm.
that is exactly what a lot of people gravitate towards. I thought it was very well executed, and I think with a proper revamp that could have gone even bigger. But I get it's not for everyone, but I can see this one having a lot of support. It's always the kind of song that worries me with the juries. It seems like not the
Yeah.
song that juries would go for, and you need to take both things into consideration, juries and televote. That's the sad part about the Albanian National Fund. They don't take any televoters into considerations, only the juries, and
Mhm.
they are also not very diverse in their taste of music, and that can kind of hurt its chances as well. But I still appreciate Albania at Eurovision a lot for many different reasons. And the music, the songs that didn't go through, you still have them to listen to. So it's not everything. Eurovision is not everything. The
Definitely.
music will continue to exist. And keep in mind, people, if you have questions, at ESC United in the chat. So it takes us a few minutes to get to them
Mhm.
because there's a delay and we don't want to just jump around in our dialogue. But at ESC United, make sure to post your question, and where it makes sense, we'll put them in and we have a conversation. So back to the top three, Roy.
Yeah.
Obviously, Anxhela wins with Karma. This is what we're going to talk about for the months to come. She will most likely then go to Eurovision unless she says, I don't want to, but most likely she will. The other surprises, in my view, are the second and third place. Sardi Strugaj finished in second place. He was the opening act, and then Festina Mejzini, she was the third place. Songs that we did not, a lot of fans did not see expect that high. Your thoughts?
I love how you looked at your sheet, probably seeing the title of Sardi's song and be like, nope,
I'm not
nope.
gonna say the title. I did that same in my videos. I'm not even. Okay, I can try it just for you get a laugh. Come me tba me kite.
It's not too
How you
bad,
like
to be
them
honest.
apples?
Yeah, it's kind of weird that it got second, if I'm honest. It was my favorite of the night. It really has that industrial feel, and the staging was absolutely incredible. I really like what they did there with like the shadow dancers and the girl that was locked up in a box. It's like they told a story on its own, and he really had a lot of charisma oozing from him as well. And I just really enjoyed the industrial feel of it, and I thought they could really do something with that and revamp it into something that was even more incredible. But I never thought it would actually get second, because it's not necessarily something I would expect Albanian juries to go for, really. So I was really surprised when I saw that he got second, but I'm really delighted he did, of course.
Yeah, I was not a fan of that song at all. So I was shocked. Actually, see that it almost won. But that comes down to personal taste. That is not me dissing people who like it. It's just like I just have a hard time believing how this would even like. It's just hard for me to really get into that song and get the appeal. But as you pointed out, you liked it, so clearly there was an appeal, and the jurors liked it. Festina has a pleasant song as well. Again, I didn't think that she would be in the top three with along with Sardi filling it up. So it was just a very big surprise. The top three overall. I will say I don't like the fact that this is very non-transparent. They just gave us the results. We don't know exactly how people have voted unless they release that later, but I don't think they will. So it always makes me uncomfortable having a jury deciding behind the scenes on a public show without having any kind of, there could be a lot of favoritism. I'm not accusing anyone. I just saying that by not releasing it, they leave leave room for interpretation or perception. It's, I guess, what I'm saying. So I wish there would be a little bit more open about it.
Yeah, and like knowing Eurofans, they will definitely dive into things and see little links that could lead to rigging or whatever happens, and like a massive bonfire happening. And yeah, it just sucks that it's not like transparent, as you said, because that just makes everything so much clearer and so much better to understand. Like last year, there was at least clarity to what happened, and even though it was also a day later, so maybe tomorrow we will get everything that we want to know. But yeah.
That is true. I don't think we will, but hey, let's give hope. Another question, Olivia MacArthur, and we briefly discussed it earlier. What did you think of the open air arena? The acts looked so cold, and you could see their breath. We talked about it earlier briefly that they were open, and that some of them were wearing regular clothes, but you have to do what you have to do in a COVID environment that we're still living in. So I'm glad they did it. And as far as how did I think of it, I think considering the circumstances, they did a really good job. To most of us, I mean, we saw the breath and all that stuff, of course, but it didn't really feel that different from a camera work. I thought it was smooth, it went well, and Albania did the right thing. And I thought, job well done. Roy?
Yeah, definitely nothing to add, really. I didn't really. You noticed the breathing and you noticed a bit thicker clothes than usual, maybe, but I think they did a really good job. And it's just for 3 minutes on the stage. So some people would probably be like, oh, I'll just be 3 minutes cold and then I can just put some blankets around me again to warm myself up. And, you got to improvise in this time, really. And until the thing is kind of out of this world, we really need to find improvisations and alternatives to the show. And it didn't really hinder me at all. I still enjoyed it as much as I did last year.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And I think we talked briefly before we went live about this whole thing. Like my favorite in Albania, my favorite has never ever won, and in most cases, it hasn't even come close yet. So this year is no exception. Mm-hmm. I was secretly hoping that I prepared for the worst and I hoped for the best. I'm glad I didn't get my hopes up too much. But at the same time, I keep saying I think Anxhela has actually a pretty good song. It was in my top 5. I just think that let's talk about the song in terms of Eurovision chances, because Albania has spoken. They feel this is most representative. I see Albania has spoken. The jury in Albania has spoken on behalf of Albania, and that this is the best song for Albania to send to Eurovision. Do you think, besides the song quality, what you may think about it, what are the odds for this song to do decent at Eurovision?
I don't think it's a winner, first of all. I don't think it is strong enough or has the potential to become a winner. But I can definitely see it go through to the final because it will definitely stand out because it is that ethnic flavor that not a lot of countries will bring. Like you'll have a lot of polished songs from Western Europe, and then you'll have this Albanian song that sounds so different and so unique out there that I can definitely see people go for it. And she was also really good vocally, so I could definitely see a lot of juries going for it as well. And we need to find out what the revamp is, but I can definitely see it being another qualifier. And it's a bit like I also needed to grow into the song 2 years ago, Theotokos. Yeah, Jonida, Theotokos. But when the revamp came out, like I was completely sold at that point. I loved it to bits. But at first I was also a bit hesitant of, what's going to happen? How will it do? And it could have the similar fate, but it really depends on what they do with the revamp and how much this song will improve. And of course, also the competition.
Yes, exactly. And Albania has had this situation because most people in Albanian national finals, they tend to be really good vocalists, really good
Yeah.
singers, and
Hmm.
this year is no exception. And Anxhela, I mean, she's one of the, if not the strongest vocalist this year in particular. Like when she started singing, I was like, what? What?
Yeah.
And I mean, it sound like, how can someone have such a good voice? And so she has probably a potential high jury potential. So and it's the first song we know out of 40 songs, basically. So we don't know where she's going to end up and what the competition is going to look like. But just based on the song's own merits, I think that do not ignore Albania when it comes to the odds. Albania often is overlooked. Um,
Definitely.
and sometimes it's the juries that brings it up because they often have jury-friendly songs, and you need to
Hmm.
take that into consideration. The last 2 years, actually, we can't count 2020, but the full years, 1918, each time I had Albania in my predictions and removed them the last second as the 11th place. In both years, they squeezed into the finals. So they can easily do it this time around as well. So for those who want to root for Albania or are a fan of the song, and because you probably get a lot of like, it happens when the fan favorite doesn't win. That there's a lot of backlash and a lot of upset feelings.
Hmm.
I put that aside because
Yeah.
come May, 99.9% of the people watching the show will never have heard of the other songs. They couldn't care less, right? What happened in the national final. They only care about what's going on today or like that at that point in time. So if you're excited about the winner, be excited because I can see a good revamp coming and uh, just keep going. Question from David actually. What do you think about Xhesika? I love the fact that she dedicated the song to her mother who passed away a few
Yeah.
months ago. So emotional in such a voice. I'm glad he's bringing it up. Roy, your thoughts first.
Yeah. I'm gonna be honest here. When I listened to the studio cuts, it definitely wasn't one of my favorites. It was like the like woven throughout the song was too much there, and in my face for me to like it really. But she sold this so well live, and she won me over. Like she's like in my top six, I think, right now. I really loved her performance, and especially that you could see that the song meant so much to her, that she was really living the song, and it makes so much sense that it was dedicated to her mother that recently passed away, and you just felt it when you know the backstory and you see the performance and you see her like being so into it. It really gravitated me towards it as well, and that's when you learn that live performances can really improve your perception of a song, and it definitely happened with Xhesika this time for me.
Yes, no, and you nailed it on that one. I was going to say, I mean, I always liked the song. I think, I don't remember exactly. I put it in my initial ranking, like sixth or seventh place.
Mm.
Um, but tonight she won me over. It was the most emotional performance. She was second to perform, I think, and it was a moment. It was like she sang it with so much conviction and passion. It
Yeah.
gave me goosebumps. And at the very end, she blew a kiss, and I didn't realize at
Hmm.
first. I'm like, oh, that's for him. It's tough. It's a tough time we're all going through, and having to lose someone tragically like that. Oh gosh, I cannot even begin to imagine what it must have been like to be on stage there right now for her. But she pulled through. I thought she did a fantastic job, and it was one of the highlights of for tonight for me
Hmm.
as well. So to answer your question, it was fantastic, and she should be very proud. Any more questions? And sometimes we miss them because sometimes the chat goes at ESC United. Someone's asking, do we have the full results already? And
Don't
it is
think.
unlikely we'll get them, right, Roy?
Mm. Yeah, I don't think we will get them until tomorrow, because I think last time they also, I mean, last time there was like a little voting happening, so we kind of knew. Wait, what was it last time? What was that the time before? I don't fully remember what happened last time, but I do remember that like everybody was so surprised the day after at seeing the results that like the two Albanian juries didn't like the big fan favorite that in the end lost, and everybody was like outraged. So if we're gonna get them, it's probably gonna be tomorrow and not today anymore.
Yeah. Keep in mind that we may not get it at all because in
Mm.
2018 we also only got when Eugen Bush Pepper won. We only got the top three as well, and they never
Ah,
released the rest.
Hmm.
So this could easily happen this time around as well. And with Albania, you never know. They're always, you never know how they're going to do it. They're
You
always
never
switch up.
know.
Oh, we can release it. Maybe, maybe not. But that's they definitely is. What did you guys think about Tier? I think. Oh god, the scroll. I think it should have been something. I had my chat scroll, so forgive me. I saw the question. But what do you think about that one?
I really liked it live. I think she performed it really well. She had a good amount of charisma and a good amount of swagger. I think the thing she wore, like the dress kind of thing, was really perfectly for the song. I didn't get why the guys were tied up. Like, I get you want to have some sort of concept, but nothing happened with that concept besides them just wiggling around awkwardly while being in ropes. And like, if they danced with the ropes or something in the end and just untying themselves, that would make more sense. But the song was really enjoyable and it really grew on me as well live. And I think she delivered it well and she got an award for a reason. And, that's good.
What award did she get?
I don't fully know. I think maybe it's like last time they had like a young musician award or something like
Oh,
that, or
okay.
like a new upcomer. I'm not fully sure what the award was for, but she at least won an award.
Hmm.
It could also be
No,
like a
I
press thing,
yeah,
maybe.
I agree with everything you said actually there as well. I do think that the she had a lot of stage presence and she
Hmm.
sold it well. She looked good. I loved her mannerisms and all of that stuff. Yes, the whole those two guys tied up was really awkward to watch.
Hmm.
Uh, um, I'm sure some Albanian will say, well, it means this because the lyrics are about that. I'm like, that's all well and great, but if you don't speak the language and
Yeah.
you just listen to it, it seems really, really awkward. But the song itself, I thought, was very well performed, and it's one of the better performances of the night for sure.
Yeah.
Why is everyone in Albania such a good singer? Well,
I
there are like a
know.
couple of exceptions there that I will actually mostly just one. But yeah. From the live performances, who was your biggest grower, Roy? That's
I
asking by
think
Karins.
I think that would be Jessica. I wait. Let me see. What else could it be? Oh, I also really liked Kamela Islamaj. Like that song was also kind of a sleeper for me, but when she was performing it live, that also really grew on me. And so it's either gonna be Angela or Kamela for me that really grew the most on me from studio cut to live performance.
Yeah. My two biggest growers are actually, I agree with you on Jessica.
Hmm.
That was a great grower. And actually, the winning song, Anxhela, she definitely grew as well. Just the live
Yeah.
performances, just her vocal performance was just like. So I was just too impressed. I have a very interesting observation also. I understand that you bring up Kamala and Wendi. Kamala, I want to bring up Kamala and Wendi. Those
Hmm.
two singers, songs were. I will be honest here right now. So it's okay if you disagree, peoples. But I only released my top 10, but those were probably my two least favorite songs of the year. Now there's one other one that I have mentioned. They were my bottom three, but they were my bottom three basically,
Hmm.
because I just found these songs in very, very uninspiring and just not a thing. And even though I still don't like the songs, here's the thing: both Wendi and Kamala are they can sell any song because they are
Yeah.
such unique singers with a very unique style, and I feel they deserve a better song. I think they could have done really well. They certainly have the talent. So the songs were both elevated for me as well, just because they did such an amazing job live. I still don't like the songs because I just find them so boring, but I can appreciate the artistry, like the artists themselves, really
Hmm.
doing the most of it. And that is just my opinion about those two songs.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. Wendy was also not as much, but she also performed it really well live. And yeah, that song also never really clicked for me. It was a bit on the dull side and a bit uninspired, like you said. I can definitely see why people would love it as well, but um, it wasn't my cup of tea. And it was definitely a big improvement live. And she definitely deserves to have a better song in the future and
Yeah.
maybe do even better in the next week. Who knows?
Let's talk about one thing that Stefanos Demis bring up. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. He said, I just saw on Twitter that Enxhi Nasufi basically confirmed that Anxhela knew she would win by saying next time get acting classes when you accept the award.
Hmm.
So that is an interesting statement. The reason why I'm saying that is also because before the live stream started, people were already saying in the chats that Anxhela has won, that the results have leaked or have been already
Hmm.
established. Um, there's some more to it, Roy. You talked about it earlier. You had some additional information on the whole situation.
I know that there was also like a bit of beef behind the background between Anxhela and Enxhi. Like, I don't fully remember what happened, but I think Anxhela made a comment about her not being good enough or something like that. I don't want to go into that too deep because like it's all speculation as well. And but like before the show, there were like rehearsal snippets. So before the first show went live, we saw every single song, and for some reason, the song from Anxhela got three of them, like three little bits where you could see something from the song, and on the other artist only got one, and that's a bit like odd, maybe that's happened. So you could already see maybe that's like the big favorite to win it all, and yeah, some things maybe look a bit shady, but maybe there are also explanations for it. Who knows? It's all guessing work at this point, really.
Yeah, I am always a little I'm not very much a conspiracy kind of guy. I'm almost like, well,
Yeah.
let's. But it is true that why did so many people talk about up front that Anxhela is going to win? And
Mm-hmm.
that so many people were like, well, it's done. I don't know why you guys even talking about it. And they're kind of like, well, I try not to get. I didn't know all the ins and outs besides what that statement was. So I didn't know all the details and context to it. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to listen to it. I just want to watch the show and enjoy it.
Yeah.
But there must be something, especially as you pointed out, with all these videos being uploaded, all these different performances, just for that one specific song. Anyone with just a tiny little bit of observational skills would probably come to the conclusion, okay, something is up here. Something is up there that
Mm-hmm.
one person gets all these uploads. So that is definitely something. Now, whether or not that is true, I have a feeling when stuff like this happens, things will come out at some point, or at least bits and pieces. There will be
Yeah.
some artists will come forward, and there will be more discussion. And that is what goes back to Roy, what I said earlier, is about transparency is so important. And unfortunately, Albania does its own thing, so they don't care about what the EBU does. The EBU doesn't care how they select an entry, because technically they could just all perform, and then one person comes in, oh, we changed our minds, I want that song. There's
Yeah.
no regulations as far as national finals are concerned. It looks kind of to the international crowd, and even probably some people in Albania. But that's just not a thing that the EBU would get involved in anyway.
Yeah.
But
No.
it leaves a bitter aftertaste in my mouth as well, if this all appears to be true that the winner was decided up front.
Yeah. I mean, it also could be that like the shows were performed, like the final show was performed on Monday while the real show was being aired. So leaking stuff and whatnot could happen, and I don't know what all happened. There are a lot of elements that could come into play, but we just gotta wait until a statement comes out, really, because it is something you can burn your fingers on really easily, to just accuse people and things to have happened while you don't know the ins and out, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And someone's asking David again, who do you think had the best outfit? And also, who was best in your opinion on the unplugged version? So I haven't seen the unplugged versions yet, so I'm not Roy. If you want to answer that part.
Oh, that's tough. That's like I need to dig back in my mind really for that. To be honest, I wasn't paying as close attention to the unplugged versions as to the first night or tonight, because it's basically the same song with acoustics. I really enjoyed Mirud with like a stripped down unplugged version of the song. I remember I liked that a lot. And there was another song. I don't fully know on top of my head which one it was.
That's okay if
Um,
you can remember. I was
yeah,
just
but like
wondering.
outfits wise, I already talked about her. I definitely think Evi Reçi had the best outfit, and I would also say Sardi really had. He just was a character on the stage, and like the outfit suit him so well and suit the song so well as well. So like those two would definitely be my favorites for outfit of the night, I guess.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. To me, I mean, I don't care that much about outfits, so it's not
Mm.
like a really big deal to me unless it's like really like, oh my god, you look like shite.
Yeah.
We didn't have any of that. I just remember Enos's dress just really was breathtaking to me. I was like, oh gosh, she looks stunning in that dress.
Ah,
It was
true
just a
actually.
a white dress, but it just really highlighted her features and her skin color and her hair. She just looked really, really good. And there was this one lady, and I forgot her name. I think it was Wendi even. She looked amazing.
Hmm.
That to me were the ones that stood out the most. And so yeah. Adwantas is saying, after the jury last year saying that Mitana wasn't Albanian enough, which context was like the fan favorite,
Hmm.
I'm not surprised that Pendese Ina song didn't do well, as the song sounds pretty Western to me. And this is a very good point, that interesting point that you bring up there, because Mitana, as pointed out, was a fan favorite. I think it finished in second place,
Yeah.
and really close behind the eventual winner.
Yeah.
Um, Let me bring that up here. And it was very interesting because last year we had like full results. It's for the juries. They were revealed in full. That gave us a
Hmm.
little bit more of an insight on how they voted, who voted for whom, etc. And it was very
Hmm.
interesting because they had Western people, when I say like international people, I should say. I
Yeah.
think Christian Bjorkman was one of them, and they all
Yes.
voted for Metana,
Metana. Yeah.
their favorite. They got like high scores, like 3 out of 5 juries or something like that.
Yeah. I
Something
think
like
that's
that.
correct.
And but the two international, the Albanian one put it in second to last or something like that.
Hmm.
So really downgraded would ultimately cost her the win. So do you
Yeah.
think something similar happened here potentially with Enos, that they're just saying this is not Albanian enough? Doesn't This is too international to.
Could be, yeah. I mean, I already pointed out that for me, the song always sounded like that extra little puzzle to the piece to the puzzle was that it sounded nearly English to me, that it should be in English. And like maybe the Albanian juries also thought the same. And I
Mhm.
could definitely see some truth in that. And they would much rather go for something more like, yeah, Karma won in the end. And yeah, there could be some truth in that. And, maybe we will get a clarification in the next few days. Like, we really need to wait and see what everybody voted and then some clarifications, and maybe they won't come. And then we just all forget about it and just enjoy Karma being the winner. And that'll be it, I guess.
Yep, and it's sad. Most people will not know all the other songs that could have been songs. So don't worry about it too much,
Mhm.
folks. Is there any other act that to you stood out that you wanted to mention that we haven't talked about yet in the running?
That is a good question. Um, I think we
I think.
talked about all of the ones that I really enjoyed a lot tonight. I thought Orgesa's song was a bit worse than her previous two attempts, but yeah, it was just a little less imaginative, I guess. Yeah, it's tough to really think about that real quick. I think we talked about a lot of them already.
Yeah, I like Kastro Zizo's song in the
Oh yeah.
studio version. I like this still live, but I feel like it doesn't have the same kind of energy that the studio
Mm.
version had. But I liked him anyway.
Yeah, his voice is really interesting. That's a good one. Yeah, I really enjoyed the Kastro Zizo one as well. It's like I always imagine listening to that song just being in some cafe or club in the middle of nowhere in like a deserted field with cactuses around and whatnot, and that song being played, and the entire bar or cafe just jumping around and bouncing to the beat of that song. And yeah, that's just my visual thing of that song, really. But yeah, it's a
Yeah.
good mention. I liked it too.
Yep. Stefanos is saying you can't hold a 3-day festival, a massive production, a relatively big stage, but have a five, I think, people, jury, and their names on a freaking piece of paper. What's a piece? I was like, what is a piece of paper? But I'm like, piece of paper, I think. I know, right? It seems like very Eurovision 1956. They probably just threw away the results after the winners announced into the trash bin and moved on with their lives. It is true, you would think, and I understand let's not apply Melody Festival and kind of standards or
Mm.
Istilao or any other national final for that matter. But you would think at some point they're gonna move ahead a little bit when it comes to the Giro, because if I was an artist in Albania, I would get a little concerned about this whole, okay, why bother taking part if I don't even get a fair shot at this?
Mhm.
Now, again, when you're in Albania, your resources are limited as far as in like exposure is concerned, so maybe you will do it anyway.
Mhm.
But I will say one thing, Ryan, which if you agree, even though despite the results, the jury, we can talk about that all day, I do feel as there are elements and just feels of Festivale at Kenges is becoming a little bit more daring, current. We had pyrotechnics, we had actually dances on stage, we had that kind of stuff just a few years back was unthinkable. So I
Yeah.
feel as a lot of the acts have been quite more 2021.
Yeah,
Is that
I
fair?
definitely think so too. Last year, I also think I commented on that as well, that like the stage looked so much more modern as well. And it's already such a massive move. Like last year, they didn't have an orchestra for the first night. And usually they have like a massive orchestra, and that is how the song is presented. And it is not the studio cut. And then they decided to flip it around. And that just makes everything feel a bit more modern and a bit more airy, maybe even. And I think that was already a massive improvement. And this year, a lot of the songs also sounded a bit more modern. And, they're making small steps. And, every little small step will contribute to it becoming better and better. And, one day Albania might win. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, the closest I've come was in 2012. Yes, I think that I'm getting the year right, which was, I
Yeah.
think, a fifth place. So
Yeah, that was Sus.
yeah, Sus, exactly. That was a very unique song. I mean that in the most flattering possible way, because if we never had, or will have probably anything like that again in the contest, the jury certainly appreciated it, but even the televoters gave it a good amount of points. But I digress. Stephen Kendall actually is bringing up something that I meant to. Eugen Bush Pepper killed it on Hallelujah.
Oh,
I had goosebumps, Roy. To be fair,
same.
same. I was just
Oh,
like, that man's voice. I mean, how I just want to crawl into his body and rip it out and take it and make it mine.
yeah.
This range is ridiculous.
I know. He can scream at me for 1 hour straight before I go to sleep every night, and I would love him for it. Like, my God, it is so, so lovely. I think it may be one of the best male vocals we've had in Eurovision in recent years. And yeah, it was so lovely to see him back. Maybe I would have preferred to hear Mal again or another original by him, but Hallelujah makes sense, I guess, in the context we all live in, and
It is
it's
funny.
fine.
It's funny because number one, it's one of my favorite songs actually. That Hallelujah. So
Mhm.
my all-time favorite. So having him perform it was just like
Yeah.
chef's kiss. Number two, it is kind of weird hearing Hallelujah at anything that's Eurovision adjacent, but
Hmm.
not having the Hallelujah from 1979, the
Yeah,
Eurovision
right,
version.
yeah.
It's like, are you sure you meant to sing that one? That was very interesting. Some other things I wanted to point out, I thought was very interesting. Florent Abrashi, he actually performed a song, which is I actually kind of liked.
Hmm.
But he brought a sign language interpreter
Oh,
with
yeah.
him throughout the entire song, which I think is a cool little thing. However, I'm not a deaf person, so I cannot really say anything, although my nephew is legally deaf.
Mm.
But it is my understanding that if you have a interpreter on there, the camera needs to be him all the time. He was only, like it's very good if you're deaf and you want to follow that you're just going to see him like just a few seconds here
Mhm.
and there. So I'm like, that's kind of interesting choice. But I
Yeah.
think it was almost more symbolic than actually effective in terms of having deaf people listen to the song, like
Yeah,
getting the lyrics. That would be my thinking.
definitely. Yeah, I
Um,
thought it was a bit out of place as well.
yeah, it seems like but if you have an interpreter on there, have him on that the entire time, then it would make sense. But yeah,
Mhm.
Stefan is saying, with all this being said, I think Fick has become the guilty pleasure of national finals. What do you
Oh,
think?
it's definitely one of the shows I look forward to the most every year. Ever since I watched the first edition, it's just such a different thing to everything else. Like, it is so culturally different, and it just doesn't drag as long as Sanremo does. And I just want to indulge into that different culture of Albanian music. And even if it is a bit more traditional, I just want to soak it all up and just feel everything about it. And I just love it every single year. And it's one of my favorites, man. It's not even a guilty pleasure, it's just a pleasure for me.
I was going to say that. By the way, everyone, this is your last chance to ask any questions related to Festivali Kenges at ESC United in the chat. If you want to ask anything specifically Eurovision related, do that as well. Feel free. Get that out last thing here. And just to Al, you're saying Festival Kengas just to me is always will always have a special place in my heart. For number one, it's the first one of the year. It gets us into the Eurovision groove. Very, very important. It is very different from any of the other national finals. Yes, we talk about the retro feel, some call it outdated, but that what makes it kind of special to me as well. So yes, you sit throughout the show and just like, hurry. Not an Inavalak. No, don't talk to them. It's just always like that, right? Every year I know it's happening, and yet I still do that because this is like, oh, I know it was going to happen, yet I'm still annoyed. But in all seriousness, it is. I love every national final because the country's putting forward, trying to pick the best effort to represent their nation. So I just love it as well. And Albania is. I couldn't even imagine Eurovision without Albania again, because they're one of the few countries that actually sing more often than not in Albanian. And let's address this actually, if we didn't even talk about that, Roy. Do you think that Anxhela should translate her song into English or not? Do you have an issue with it in general or not?
Not as much as other people in general. I don't think, like last year, the Fall from the Sky revamp to me improved the song, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, keep it in Albanian because Albanian sounds so lovely." And I was like, "Yeah, but this is more slick and more polished." And for that song, it worked for me. But I find it kind of tough to picture how they would translate this to English because it feels more Albanian or something. I don't think they will translate it, but who knows really? It's always like up in the air. Like Theotokos stayed in Albania, and I get more vibes of that than like Fall from the Sky or Fairy Tale or whatever translation was happened in the past. Really, I think it would be more likely that they will keep it in Albanian, but we never know with them.
I always encourage countries to sing in their native tongue, but I'm not a language snob, if that makes any sense, in terms of like I don't expect the song always to stay in Albanian. It comes down to the song. Janita's song would have been a terrible choice to translate into English.
Yeah.
And I think Jessica's song Angelia's song kind of falls into the same category to me. I don't think this would work well with the translation. I can make the case that Ines' song, if she would have won, could have had a decent translation because it's less like expected to have a. It's not as Albanian tradition. The sound, I think it could have worked quite well in English. We'll never know now, but I think she should. Based on what I'm hearing right now, we don't know the revamp. I think she needs to keep it in Albanian, and I'm a big fan of that. And people are saying it has been confirmed it stays in Albanian, so I didn't know that either. So that's answers that question, and I think it was the right choice because I still think last year's song "Fall from the Sky" should have stayed in Albanian. It lost a lot of the charm, and sometimes it works though. But last year it was one of the ones where like you shouldn't have done that, in my view.
Yeah.
HCB is asking Roy, what is your favorite Albanian entry ever?
Ever. I think that must be Seuss. I really like that, and I know it's very like Marmite. Like you either really love it or you hate it, and I'm more on the love because I just watch that performance and I listen to the song and I'm like, wow, 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 and but like Albania throughout has had a lot of good songs, especially like Theotokos was amazing. I love that as well. And Mal was also really incredible. I never expected it to do that well either, but
Yeah.
I'm so glad it did. But I think my favorite is Seuss.
Yeah. I'll give you my top three in no particular order. Mal, for sure. Just alone for the vocals, and the song is also fantastic. It's high up there. I will also put Seuss in there. For the same reason this year, it's just so out there and balls to the walls, and I appreciate it for that. And I always liked 2010. It's all about you, the things
Oh.
that you do. Da 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 da. I don't know the words anymore, but I love that song. The backup singers were fantastic. That's really high up in my ranking as well. So those were probably the three that come to mind right now that I would put high up. And I will say one song that no one talks about, but that's only because I saw live in 2013 when I was Eurovision took place in Malmö, and I was there, of course, and Albania's the duo performed. I forgot their names right now. I have to look them up. They didn't qualify from the semis, and it's not even a song that was really on my radar, but I watched them perform it live with like live instruments and all that. I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing. That was like one of the things like people will never get to experience that like the live a lot most of them because it was so great with like live guitars and instruments and then performing it live and the energy they performed it during the Eurovision quiz night, which was awesome. It's just one of those moments I'll never forget.
Did you mean Identitet?
Yeah, Identitet. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I
That
like
was
that one as well.
that was live, and that was such a great night. And the two highlights were them, Linda Martin, and me scoring really high. There were over 200 people playing, and I was in the top 10. And but it was okay. It was not because of my Eurovision knowledge. It was because the guy in front of me was super drunk and screamed out the answers to himself, to his neighbor. It's D. Answer D. I'm like, Zach, it's D. Because some of these are really, really difficult that I couldn't even know. So I just cheated. But hey, he said it out loud, so why not use it? That's I'm just saying. What songs are your favorites from France? Evelina is asking. Have you listened to them yet?
To the national selection ones?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. My absolute favorite is Amour Fou. I just think it would be cool to have a really good EDM song go to the country where EDM is like the biggest thing in the world, and that would be really cool. And I think it's really slick and really well polished. I also think
What's the name of the song or the band?
Amour Fou, Pony X is the artist.
Oh, Pony X. Yes. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my second place is Bano from Philippines. I think that has a lot of potential. If you give her a choreography team to work with, she already has some swagger that you can work with, some attitude that you can work with. And if you really give her a proper team to make it all fall together, that could really be a good entry as well for them. And to a lesser extent, I also like Voila. But yeah.
Yeah. So Voila is also my favorite, Barbara Pravi, and I also enjoyed Andri Mad, Alleluia. Those are my two favorites there. There is a video out there you can watch where I have them ranked in case you haven't seen it yet. So it gives you a further breakdown of that. And somebody asked about Estonia. I still have to listen to them, so I cannot give you an answer yet to that, unfortunately. I was waiting for the allocation for the semis, which still hasn't happened yet, right? If I'm not mistaken.
No, it doesn't happen yet.
Yeah, so I wanted to do two videos, one for Semi 1 and Semi 2 that I've been doing over the last few years. Yeah, no allocation yet. So I will wait for that to come out. So otherwise, videos are so long and that's exhausting, and I don't want to do that. But I also want to just do one video for each song. This is also too much. So that to me is like in between. What do you think about Ugly Cry Bulgaria, and what are your favorite Istilal songs? Like we had the Istilal we just answered. How about Ugly Cry? I did a reaction video to that as well, so you can check out my opinion in more detail. Make sure you subscribe to my channel so you can see that. To summarize my opinion, I think it's a good, solid, radio-friendly song, a good, follow-up single to a Eurovision song. It's not necessarily the best choice for Eurovision because I don't think it ticks the boxes for it to be like the standout song. It's just like a good, solid song that fits in the field, but it's not the song that stands out. That was my opinion. How about you?
Gonna be honest, I haven't listened to it yet.
Oh, okay. Wow, you're really far behind then.
Wow, I did Estonia at least. Like,
yeah, but I could, but I deliberately are not doing it because I could record the videos and then just wait to release it. But then it's kind of the same. We'll see. Semi-allocation is the same as last year's was, Isaac is saying. No, that is true. I'm talking about the semi-allocation for Istilal, not for Eurovision. Because Istilal has a bunch of songs in the running, and they have also a semi-allocation. I know that the Eurovision 21, that has not changed. Which then also means Anxhela will perform in the second half of the second semi-final. because she
Yeah.
already did. So she's gonna have a good draw there.
True.
Although in the semis, running orders are not as important. It's always helpful to go later, but at least all you have to do is to end up in the top 10.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
there are less songs to compete against, so you have to listen to less songs, so it's less difficult.
I want to answer a question
Yes.
because I see the mention of Ireland re-choosing Leslie Roy,
Mm-hmm.
and she collaborated with a band I discovered this year called Normandy. It's like a metal band from Sweden, and
What, a mental band? Oh, a metal band.
a
She said
metal
mental. Like
band,
she said
like
mental?
hard
Ooh.
rock metal band,
All
and
right.
I love their work a lot. Like it's very radio friendly metal music, and I am so beyond excited to saw that like the guy, the front singer, co-wrote with her, I guess, and the band was also mentioned separately. So they worked together on the Irish entry this year, and I'm so curious what they will come out with because I really like that band, and I found them this year, and I fell in love with them.
Yeah. I thrilled that Leslie Roy is back. Those who watched my videos, they know that was high up in my ranking with the story of my life.
Mm.
Uh, Top 5 for me for sure. I It's going to be difficult to recreate that magic for me, that song, because it's the happiest song of the year to me.
Oh yeah,
But I'm hopeful that she's going to put something forward that's just as fun and modern. And if she's going to
you
go a
should
little
have.
bit more down the rock vibe rather than the pop one, so be it, as long as it's good. Because I like rock. I really think that
Mhm.
rock, when done right, was such a great addition to
You should look
Eurovision.
them up. I think you would actually like their songs. Like, yeah, it's very accessible, like I said, to a bigger audience.
Yeah, no, that's true. No, what are the name? What's the name again?
Normandy, so like
Normandy.
the
Okay.
the province of France, but without the dots on the E. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's just wrap this up. Quickly, a couple of questions. Joey's asking, what do you think about Benny Christos returning for the Czech Republic after last year's drama? Refresh my memory. What drama did we have in the Czech Republic?
I don't remember any drama either, really. I
Yeah,
am
maybe
really
the fact. Well,
excited
the
for it.
drama is probably that he won because there were so
Uh,
many. The other two favorites or three favorites, nobody thought that he had a shot, and then he
yeah.
ended up winning. I think that's the drama. I think they're talking about, huh?
Mm,
What do
yeah.
you think? I think I am of the opinion anyone that was selected last year should return this year. If it were up to me, if I was the
Mm.
king of Eurovision, that would have been my ruling. So I am thrilled that he's back.
I'm gonna be honest, like it's one of the few songs I still listen to today, and it really rose up in my top after Eurovision got cancelled. And I've listened to more stuff of him, and like in the home concert as well, he did some interesting stuff, and he does a lot of different genres. So I hope they do sort of a national final with multiple songs from him. That would be really cool. But I'm kind of excited for him to be back. I think he has a lot of opportunity and a lot of yeah, like I think he could do well for Czech Republic if he has the right song again.
Yep, I completely agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so there you have it. Any final thoughts on Albania, Roy, that we haven't talked about?
I don't think so. Just very curious to see what they'll do with the song and the results, maybe.
Yeah, the result ever comes down to. And once again, everyone, don't be too sad if your favorite didn't win. When next year, if this is like your first time, go into this as I do. Prepare for the worst, hope for the best, but don't expect your favorite to win because let's be real here, the odds are it will not.
Hmm.
That's just often the case in most national finals anyway, but especially in Albania.
Yeah.
And just sit down, enjoy the show, and just take it the way it comes. And I think that it's a good song, and I'm still sad about my Enos and my era that didn't make it, but that's life.
Yeah.
That's life. All right, everyone. This is actually the last song that we'll have for the year 2020. I mean, the year's almost over anyway, in 8 days.
Mm.
But you're going to listen to this one probably a gazillion times. Roy and I will look forward to your top 1 videos on YouTube. I
Yes.
cannot wait who your first and last places are.
Should I make
Um,
one?
I'm telling you. I'm telling you. Can't I just wait until that 10 videos out, 10 songs, or even 5? I'll give you 5. But even the top 2 videos drive me nuts. I'm like, I find
Yeah.
zero value in it. And the craziest thing is those videos get like a gazillion views. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, there is a
It's so
market
weird.
for it, I guess. But not for me. Anyway,
Yeah.